In this video, we will look at variables, literals, concatenation, interpolation, and printing to the console. A very important concept to understand in any programming language is the concept of a variable. In programming, a variable is a storage location identified by a memory address, paired with an associated symbolic name which contains some known or unknown quantity of information referred to as a value. To show a simple demonstration of how we can see a variable in real life would be to use a box to store certain objects. I can use a box to store all my old books, and when I need the books again, I can just go back to the box and retrieve the books I want. So a variable is a storage location paired with a name. In this case, we could write on the box books to know later on which box to retrieve, which contains some information that we call a value. In this case, the value will be books or just a book. Variables in programming languages have specific types of values that we can store, and only those types are allowed to be stored in the specific variable or storage location. Let's look at the example of using trash cans in real life. In a park, we could get trash cans for organic material, paper, and glass, and only trash of that type should be deposited into the trash cans. So if you are in the park eating an apple and decide to deposit the apple into the trash can that should only contain glass, a park official could come running to you telling you that you made a mistake and even give you a fine. In the same way, programming languages will not be happy if you store values in a variable of the wrong type. Now that we know what a variable is, let's look at some of the built-in types on how we can declare variables in Dart. So the Dart language has special support for the following types: numbers, strings, booleans, lists, sets, maps, runes, symbols. In this video, we will just concentrate on the top three there: numbers, strings, and booleans, which you will use mostly. And when we carry along with this video later on, we will look at lists, sets, maps, and so forth. And you can also create your own types. So if we just look at numbers and strings and booleans for now, just a quick look at numbers, and you can see that Dart numbers come in two flavors. There's basically integers and doubles. So you can look at the ranges for integers. It goes from minus 2 to the power of 63 up until 2 to the power of 63 minus 1. And when you're using JavaScript, it allows a different set of values there. So integer values, you can see at the bottom, are numbers without a decimal point. So it's whole numbers. Whereas if you look at a double, it's a double precision number or floating point number. And that's also where the word double comes from. It's double precision, floating point numbers, and those do have the decimal point. So that's numbers, which is integers or doubles. Now obviously if you look at strings, strings is normal text, and booleans is values that you can have as true or false. So I think it will be better if we go to Dartpad now and we look at those different variables that we can declare. So you can go to dartpad.dev and just open up a new pad. So you can click there, open a new pad, choose Dart, make sure HTML is not selected, and say create so that we have a new pad. So I'm going to delete all the coding except for my main method where everything starts. Now let's declare a variable. So I'm going to start with the double there. Let's call it float numbers. And I'm going to assign a value of 10.6. So this is now the same as where you go into one of those trash cans or even the box with the books that we looked at. And we called this box now float numbers. But we said that in that box, only a specific type of values can be stored. And in this case, it can only be double values, which means that on the right hand side where I put something into the box, the 10.6 there must be a floating or a decimal point value. So if I try, for example, to type something like a string, well, I could type somebody's name there, and you will see that it gives us an error there. It says a value of type string cannot be assigned to a variable of type double. So it's very important that you make sure, just like that official in the park would come running and telling you, no, you cannot place an apple inside of a trash can for glass. So this is exactly the same thing. It comes running and tell you that you cannot place a string into something where double values should go. So in this case, we can still use a double value there. For example, I could also not use true or false there. It will again give me a problem because I've defined this variable as a double. So very important that the specific type that you are defining the variable as should go or should get that specific value. Now let's look at integers. So I can have int, let's call it integers, and we assign the value of 10. Now you can see there's no problems, although they give you some info there. They say the value of the local variable isn't used, and we'll use it later on when we print it out. So no problems right now. So you can see also I've declared this box, this thing in blue is the variable, or you can see it as the box, and the box has been declared as an integer, which means that box can only hold integer values, which is whole numbers. So if I try to put a .6 there, which is a floating point or a decimal point value, then you can see the error there. You can just note something here, that double variables can in fact also hold integer values, but what in memory what it will do is to just append the .0 there. So you are allowed to actually save integer values in a double, but not the other way around. Right, let's take that one back again. Right, so this one is defined as an integer and it can only store integer values. If I try to type a string value there again, like whatever you want to type there, you will see again that official will come running and tell you this error exists and you cannot assign a string, which is text, to something that's supposed to hold integer values. So let's go back to 10 there. Now let's look at strings. So there's a string, let's call it text, and we can have the string there as hello world. Again, my variable's name here is called text. So that's the name of the box. The box can only, or the variable can only hold text, which is string variables or string values. And the value that we've assigned here is, you can see that we've got single quotation marks. But I could also have, let's say, string another text, and I can also say hello world like this. And you can see both of them is fine with only using one single quotation mark or the double quotation mark. So strings start off with a single quotation mark and ends with a single quotation mark, or it starts with a double quotation mark and ends with a single quotation mark. So we'll get into this a bit later on why we can use both the single quotation as well as the double quotation mark in strings. For now, just know that both is allowed to define. So in this case, this text is called text, or this variable is called text, and it contains hello world. Whereas this variable's name is another text, and it also contains hello world. Now, if I try to go and let's say I make this hello world a 10 there, because it's still in double quotation marks, it takes the 10 as text, a text 10. And you can see it's got no problem with it. But as soon as I remove the double quotation marks and I place only a 10 on that side, like I did here, you will see that it gives me an error and say this integer cannot be assigned to something that only holds strings. So please make sure about that you have the correct variables or the correct values for the correct variables. Then the last type that we're going to quickly have a look at is booleans. And booleans basically has got only one value, true or false. Now in this case you can assign false, and you can see the error disappears now, and the other value it accepts is a true. So it's one of two values, either the word true or the word false. And you can see it's got no problem with it, because this variable, the box, is named true or false, and it can only hold Boolean values, which is one of two, either true or false. Now I can change this back to false again, and you can see it's got no problem. But if I make this a 10, for example, you will see it doesn't like it. It come running, and it tells you, you cannot place a 10 in something that's supposed to hold a true or a false value. So please make sure of that. You can also not type any text there or assign any text to it. You will also see it gives you an error. So very important, even a number, it won't take a number. It won't take a floating point value. It won't take strings. It will only take true or false. Right, so now let's look at a simple example. So I'm going to use two integer values, and I'm going to say int first number, and I'm going to declare another one, int second number. Now this is what we call just a normal declaration of a variable, and you can see there I've declared the variable as a double, and it's called floating numbers, and I have that equal sign, which means I'm assigning a value to it. I'm placing something in the box. Here I'm just having an empty box and without anything in the box. So at the end I can go and say, well, first number should be 10 and second number should be, let's say, 20. So this is also another way of doing it, where you declare it at the top and you go down somewhere in coding and you are changing the value. And that's where the word variable also comes in, because later on I can go to first number again and I can change first number to 20 as well. And it's allowed. You can see there's no error here at all. It's just a bunch of infos there, because we're not using these variables. So we can declare a variable and then assign a value, or do it in one line where I declare the variable and assign the value. And then I can still go to float numbers and change that value again to, let's say, 12.5. So that's why they call it a variable, because it's something that varies. It can have one value now, and later on in coding it could have another value. So that's also very important to remember, is that we can declare a variable and then have it assigned somewhere else. Now let's do some calculations on these two numbers. The first number is 10, the second number is 20. Let's say we want to get the average of these values. Now, because an average is normally something with a decimal value, we will use it as a double. So for example, if I take the average of 10 and 20, so 10 plus 20 is 30, divided by 2 gives me 15. So the average between those is 15. But what if I make that an 11? Then it won't be 15 anymore, but 15.5. So that's why we'll always work with an average, declare that box or that variable as a double. So what we can do then is to go and say, well, we'll take the first number, whatever is saved in the first number. We will add the second number, and then we will divide it by 2. But now you must be very careful here. So I'm just going to use a simple print statement, and we'll talk about the print now. Let me delete some space there. The print method, if I just print out that average, so basically printing out the average will go to the box called average, look at what is saved in it, which should be this average that we calculated now, and it just prints it on the screen. So if I click on run, that will be our only output, and that's 21. Now, why did we get 21 here? So just as a normal calculator will do, if you say first number plus second number divided by 2, it will first work out this part, which is second number divided by 2. And second number is 20. 20 divided by 2 is 10. First number is 11. So 11 plus 10 will give me 21 there. Okay, so very important then, the same as with your calculator, you will first want to work out what is the sum of first number and second number, which is 11 plus 21, which is 31, divided by 2 should now give you the 15.5 that we were looking for. Okay, so we'll come back to the print statement now. So another thing I want you to quickly take note of is the way that we declare our variables. So you can see that I start off with lowercase, and then somewhere in the middle of the word I get an uppercase there. So the idea with all programming languages is that you use camel casing. And camel casing just means that if you start off declaring the name of a variable, you start off with a lowercase. And then if there's any other words as part of that specific variable, then you make them a capital letter. For example, my variable contains two words, first and number, which means I will start off with first or lowercase, and when the next word starts number, I will make the beginning or the very first character of that second word a capital letter. So that's just a common programming principle that all the programming languages basically use. Now let's see how we can print out this a bit better. So we just printed out the value of 15.5, but let's say we want to print out a bit more. Let's say we want to print out the average of the first number and the second number is, and then you show the average. Okay, so we can use then something that we call concatenation. Okay, so concatenation means you append something or add something to something else. So for example, I will start off this print statement with some text, and I will say the average of, and then I will say the first number should then be shown. So I'll say the average of, the plus sign there is the concatenation operator, which means that I am adding something to this text. So if there's text involved with the plus sign, we call that the concatenation operator. So here where we have the plus sign, this is not the concatenation operator. This is actually adding whatever is saved in first number to the second number, which is 11 plus 20, which gives you 31. But obviously you cannot say what is somebody's name plus 10, because that's just insane. It's adding text and numbers together, which will not work. So whenever you do that, we talk about the concatenation operator. So we'll see how this works now. So we'll say the average of, and then we're going to show first number. But now you can see that we've got an error there, and it says that the argument type integer cannot be assigned to the parameter type string. So it doesn't like this. But now a nice thing that we can do here is to just put a dot there, and you can see there's a method that says toString. So I'm going to select toString there, and it will convert the first number, which is an 11, to a string 11, so we can print it out on the screen. So I'm going to say the average of first number dot toString, which will make it a string, plus I'm going to add some text again, and the average of first number, which it will say 11, the average of 11, and now I want to append the second number also. So I'm going to say second number dot toString, and then I'm going to add some text again with a space is, and then I'm going to append again or concatenate again, and then I'm going to add the average variable and also put it to a string. Right, so let's run this quickly and see what's the output. The average of 11, which is this one, and 20, which is that one, is 15.5. So if I make this one a 13 and run it again, it will say the average of 13 and 20 is 16.5. So it seems as everything is working correctly. So what do you need to take from this print statement? The plus sign there acts as a concatenation operator, which means I'm adding some text to some other text. Now, even though first number is not text, it's an integer there, by calling toString on it, it will make it some text. And then we're concatenating the word and then we're concatenating again the number that is represented as a string, some string again, and then again a variable that we converted to a string, which is the average, which is that 16.5. Okay, so this is one way of doing it. Now another way of doing this is we could have just said, and this is where string interpolation comes in. We could have said the average of, now instead of saying first number dot toString, I'm using a $sign to refer to a specific variable. So I'm going to say the average of first number, and then I just continue with my text and put the $sign again, second number, start using the text again, the average of first number and second number is, and now I can just use average there. Now look at how much shorter this single print statement is compared to this one, and all the quotation marks I need to keep track of, instead of just saying the average of first number and second number is average. And you will see if I run it now, it gives you exactly the same output. So this is the first one. That's the first print statement. It's this one. And this one there is the second print statement, which is this one, which does exactly the same thing. So this, with the $sign in front of it, we are basically saying this is string interpolation, where I can directly use variables inside of the text. Now, let's say you wanted to do some calculations on it. Then you can also use some curly brackets there, and you can say first number minus 1, for example. So then you are basically saying, I'm using this variable and some calculations in between before I get to that one. So let's say first number minus 1 there. First number is 13, so you'll see it's going to say 12 there, although the average didn't change. But it's saying 12 there because I used minus 1. So you can also use it like this, the average of first number like that, with the brackets or without the brackets. But if you need to do some calculations and wanted to take the first number and multiply it by 2 first or something like that, then this is also part of string interpolation, where you can add some calculation as part of the string. Right, so the idea for this video was to look at what is variables, what is literals. We haven't looked at literals, so we'll quickly talk about literals now. What is concatenation, the plus operator there with strings? Remember that this plus operator is for calculations. It's a mathematical operator. Whereas where we use strings with the plus, it's the concatenation operator. So concatenation and then interpolation, what we used here with the $sign, and then printing to the console using this print method. Right, so let's just quickly have a look at the last thing we should have covered, and that is what is a literal. Right, so float numbers, like we declared at the top, is called a variable. We called it float numbers here, and we said the type for that variable should be double. But now on the right hand side is where we get our literals. So that's literally where you are writing down or typing a specific value. So this is a literal, the 10 is a literal, hello world is a literal, false is a literal. Okay, so if we go down and we print out, you can see in the print statement, the raw text there will be a literal. First number will be a variable. That's a literal again. The same for this one. The text there, the average of, is your literal. First number is your variable. That and is a literal again, is a literal again, and average as well as second number is variables again. So I hope you understand the difference between what is a variable and what is a literal. Normally we take literals and we save it into something that we call a variable. That's all for this video. See you in the next one.